Oh, hi, Mark. Or rather, oh, hi, Lucio. No, that doesn't work. It really doesn't. Um, alright, so I have finally seen all of Fulci's horror films. All 21 of them. And it's now occurring to me that I forgot my beverage. Okay, I'm back with a beverage. By the way, guys, don't mind the hair. I haven't got it cut in a while. And this is what happens when you have... Lucio, come here. It's okay, bud. Just sit over there. There we go. God. Yeah, this is what happens when you haven't got your hair cut in a long while. And you've been watching movies all day. And so you're trying to keep it out of your face. Because it's annoying when it gets in your face. So you just start doing this. And that's how it ends up. So... I gotta get a haircut soon. But anyway, I have officially watched all of Lucio Fulci's horror films. It's pretty great. I also officially own all of Lucio Fulci's horror films. And so, I figured, what better time than right now, right as I got done watching the last Fulci horror film that I hadn't seen, which was House of Clocks, The House of Clocks, than to make this video. So I figured instead of doing a top 10 Lucio Fulci movies, I would just rank all of them. Because I like Lucio Fulci. And I like talking about Lucio Fulci movies, so why not? Alright, without further ado, I think we're just going to get right into this. Crap. I done goofed. Okay. I think I know what I'm going to do. We're going to start at my least favorite movie, and go to my most favorite movie. But I kind of stacked them in a way that isn't very permissive of doing that. So I'm going to have to flip the stack. Okay, the stack is flipped. Now we can get into it. So in at number 21, we have Door into Silence. So some of you may have caught my Door into Silence review. Most of you probably have not. I don't like Door into Silence. Hardly at all, really. This film is supremely boring. What's clinking around in here? Nothing. Felt like my disc was loose or something, but it's not. This movie is supremely boring. It's pretty much an hour and a half of a guy driving around. He tails a hearse a few times. He's late for something. He has a drink or two. Drives some more. Stops a couple places. This movie is boring. I mean, that's literally what happens in this movie. Yeah, seriously, I'm glad I've seen it, I'm glad I own it, but I'm not hardly ever gonna watch this, like, ever again. So, Door into Silence. Not the greatest film. In fact, quite literally, my least favorite Lucio Fulci film. So, in at number 20, we have Manhattan Baby. So here's where we actually get into films that I like. I've liked pretty much every single Lucio Fulci movie I've ever seen, with the exception of Door into Silence. There's stuff I like about Door into Silence, but as a movie, like as a whole, I would say I don't really like Door into Silence. But Manhattan Baby, we are getting into the ones that I actually like. It's alright, realistically. This film, I do remember being pretty boring, but I also have to preface that with, I was really sleepy when I watched this. I think I was fading in and out of consciousness. So, also understand that a lot of these I have only watched once. And the reason being is because I'm fairly new to not only Italian horror, but I'm fairly new to Fulci. Even though he is my favorite director of all time, I've only put that together very recently, where, you know, I'm looking at all these movies and I'm like, I like most of his movies, like, and I've seen a ton of them. So his batting average basically is just really impressive with me, which is why he's my favorite director. But some of these I don't remember as well. Manhattan Baby is one that I barely remember at all. Be entirely honest about that. But I don't know. I remember it being okay. It has Bob from House by the Cemetery on there. So that's interesting. I don't know if I'd call that a good thing or a bad thing, but it's interesting. Sodomas Ghost. This one is really strange. It's really surreal, and that's something you're going to hear me say a lot, because Fulci is pretty much the king of making really surreal, strange horror films. I will say that I actually enjoy this a good bit more than Manhattan Baby, even. It's a really interesting movie. It's definitely not one of Fulci's better movies, but it is a very interesting movie. I remember this film, though, being kind of how do I want to put that? I was gonna say non-cohesive, but it's not that it's not that the plot doesn't meld. It's just, I don't know. It sticks together like the plot is sort of cohesive, but it feels like that it was glued together by an 8-year-old with a stick of Elmer's glue. If you know what I mean. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. Either way, you probably think I'm talking nonsense, but that's how Sodomas Ghost feels to me. Very interesting film, very cheesy movie. If you don't like cheesy movies, I mean, if you don't like cheesy movies, then I don't think Fulci in general is for you. But if you don't like cheesy movies, Sodomas Ghost definitely isn't for you. Alright, next up in at number 18, we have Demonia. Again, I don't remember much about this movie. I remember pretty sure the cinematography was pretty good in this one. Has a couple of decent effects, I think, and has an interesting story. But I don't remember a ton of it. But evidently, I do like it more than Sodomas Ghost and Manhattan Baby. It's just a better film. Realistically. Alright, next up. Number 17 is Murder Rock. First of all, this is a beautiful cover art. Look at that. Look at that. This beautiful slipcover. Of course, this Blu-ray from Scorpion transfer is pretty cool too. That beautiful slipcover. And it comes... the cool thing about this Blu-ray is it comes with a poster, like a small poster of that cover art. And it's absolutely beautiful. But, I will say that this film, I never thought these words would leave my mouth, but it's a little too 80s for me. I really love 80s films, which is why I said I never thought those words would leave my mouth, but it really is a little too 80s for me. All these ridiculous dance scenes with this really ridiculous, boisterous music blowing out everywhere, and everyone's like dancing, making super intense faces, and sweat's dripping from everyone. It's weird, man. It really is weird. And then it's not as gory as a lot of Fulci films, because the killer uses a hat pin, and he just kind of stabs people in the chest with hat pins. Or with a hat pin. It's a fancy hat pin. But, or they stab the killer with a hat pin, so as to keep it gender anonymous. If you guys are watching this, you've seen Murder Rock. She stabs people with a hat pin, but yeah, it's not Fulci's best giallo. Not by any stretch of the imagination. Very strange movie. Awesome release, though. This is the second to last Fulci film I watched, which I actually reviewed this movie. I have a full review on this, The Sweet House of Horrors. And basically, if you don't want to watch the review, I'll give you my quick kind of thoughts here. It's super ridiculous. This movie, first of all, is terrible. It really is. The Sweet House of Horrors is a terrible film. But evidently, I liked it because it's above Murder Rock and Demonia and Sodomas Ghost and Manhattan Baby. Like, I liked this movie, and I mean, this is one of those movies, in my opinion, that is just so bad that it's good. Like, this is a Troll 2 tier film. Not quite so much as another film we're going to talk about in this video, but it's a so bad it's good fun time, for sure. I definitely recommend watching The Sweet House of Horrors if you like bad movies. Lizard in a Woman's Skin. This is an alright giallo. Frankly, I think I'm going to watch most of the other movies more than I'll watch this one. Honestly, now I'm second guessing as to why it's in this spot, because this is all about my opinion, guys. This list isn't made on I didn't make this on a technical level or anything like that. This is very much so, it's all about my opinion. So I don't know why Lizard in a Woman's Skin is up here, because honestly, I think I like a good portion of those movies more than A Lizard in a Woman's Skin. But what are you gonna do? And of course, that was with further thought, because I mean, I couldn't think too hard about this list. Otherwise, you know, my brain was gonna burst. All right, that's one thing that I am super guilty of, is overthinking stuff like this. So I was trying to not overthink, but Lizard in a Woman's Skin is an alright little giallo. However, the title kind of spoils the movie, don't you think? Like, isn't the point of a giallo for us to not know who the killer is? And this title, mixed with this cover art, in my opinion, spoils the movie. Like, I knew it was going to be her. I knew the killer was going to be her. I was like, a lizard in a woman's skin. Okay, so the woman is cold-blooded. Right here, it shows a lizard melding into her, the main character. Like, can you not name it that and give us that image on the cover? I don't know. That's probably my biggest gripe with this movie, honestly, is the title cover art combo, because I mean, I knew I had deduced what that title meant, and I was like, oh, well, all right. So that's this is going to be the reveal, and it was. So, oh well, I guess, but that did kind of ruin it a little. I don't know. Overall, it's not a bad movie, though. Like, the movie itself is pretty good, but it does have its drawbacks, and in my opinion, that is a big one. Voices from Beyond, in at number... What are we at? I've lost track of the numbers, honestly. Number 14. And I'm not editing this video. Yeah, Voices from Beyond. This is a fun movie. It's fun. It also very much helps that I originally saw this film. Again, this is another movie that right after the first time I saw it, I recorded a review about it. And just the night before, I think it was the night before, I recorded my Door into Silence review. And we all know how I feel about Door into Silence, and we all know how I feel about unruly hair. Anyway, sorry. But we all know how I feel about Door into Silence by now. If you didn't before this video, you've seen the beginning of this video, so now you know. And so I watched this movie right after Door into Silence, and so it was such a breath of fresh air. Honestly. It's sufficiently fun, though. For sure. And this is the film that I just watched. The House of Clocks. Which, honestly, I wasn't expecting to like this movie as much as I did. I was expecting to like this movie more than Door into Silence. I was expecting to like it more than Manhattan Baby. But I thought that's where it might stop. But I watched this film and it actually kind of blew me away. It's got some gore to it. It's got some gore to it and some violence, and it feels super surreal. Super crazy surreal. It's got kind of a spooky atmosphere to it. It's everything I love about Fulci, minus like eyeball mutilation. Except it still kind of has that, because one of the main characters in this movie has I don't even know how to describe it, but it's supposed to be like a wound on his eye, but obviously it's like someone had taken paper mache and like brushed it over his eyeball. But yeah, this movie has some great stuff. I will say the acting isn't the greatest, nor is the dub, but of course I can forgive both of those. Obviously I can forgive both of those, as Lucio Fulci is my favorite director, and I love Italian movies. And let's be honest, most of us, when we watch Italian horror movies, at least I think that's most of us. Like, I don't know, I guess maybe I'm just drawing this conclusion here because it's what I do. Maybe I'm just being a douchebag that's like, oh yeah, the world revolves around what I do. But I don't know, for whatever reason, the way I perceive it, most of us watch these movies, Italian movies, dubbed, not subtitled. So, obviously I can forgive a bad dub. Italian movies. Did I say Italian movies dubbed? I don't want you guys thinking I mean just foreign films. It's just Italian movies that I watch dubbed. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, but The House of Clocks, cool movie. And it's got the guy from, he was in Zombie. I think he was also like a coroner in The Beyond. Or a doctor of some sort. I think it was The Beyond. Alright, next up. We have Don't Torture a Duckling. A lot of you might think that this movie is super low on the list. You might be right, but mostly I don't like this film. This is a very good giallo. Don't get me wrong, on a technical level, this is a very good giallo, and if it weren't for this thing, I think I would like this movie more. as far as the main female character, what was her name? Because she's in other stuff. Florinda Bolkin? Is that her? I don't think so. Maybe. But anyway, yeah, the main chick in this movie that's kind of investigating these murders or whatever, she has a less than favorable past, let's say, and let's say it involves children. I don't like saying specifically this sort of thing. It's a gross word. It's all gross. And let's say in this movie she acts consistently inappropriate. Not in that she's like outright touching or anything, but she's acting very inappropriate with these children in this movie, and like she's portrayed as kind of a good guy. And I'm sure there was something Fulci was trying to say here, which is why I'm not repulsed. I mean, I'm pretty grossed out by it, but I'm not like, ew, Fulci, what are you doing? Like, I'm 100% certain that he included that because he was trying to say something. I don't imagine that was just a random thing that Fulci just kind of threw in there. The only thing that I've really come up with thinking about it is maybe like he was trying to talk about, or, shed some light on like the double standard that society has for women versus men when they're convicted for similar things. Because people seem awful forgiving of it with her because she's an attractive woman. So it could be that could be totally why that's in this movie, but the very fact that it's in this movie does make me like this movie less, and it does make me watch this movie less because it's gross and it's kind of disturbing. Oh yeah, okay, so guys, all right, so I have The New York Ripper, The House by the Cemetery, and City of the Living Dead all on the same edition. It's that Blue Underground triple feature. And so basically I have it at a specific place in the ranking. So it's not like I can just pull it out for all of them, or I probably could, but I don't want to keep like putting it back or whatever. Maybe I'll just hold up that. No, that won't do. Hold on. I think I can do this. Just kind of pull it out. I think that's fine. So, The New York Ripper. This is a film that I'm not as huge on as I think a lot of other people are. I think technically this is my favorite giallo from Fulci. Maybe? I don't know what some of these other movies are considered, but anyway, yeah, the New York Ripper, it's very good, but it's also very sleazy. It is one of the sleaziest films I've ever seen. Next to maybe something like a Slaughter Hotel. If you haven't seen Slaughter Hotel and you like uber sleazy movies, please watch Slaughter Hotel. Just do yourself a favor. But the New York Ripper is pretty out there with the sleaze. And so it's not something that I go back and rewatch a ton, just because it kind of weirds me out with some of the scenes in here. Like, it makes me laugh, but it weirds me out at the same time. So, I don't know. The New York Ripper, it's a good movie, don't get me wrong. It's just a little on the trashy side. So, all these movies, well, most of these movies are on the trashy side, but you know what I mean for that one. Like, it's uncomfortably so. Next up here, we have Enigma. By the way, guys, I have completely stopped counting. Alright? Once we get to, like, the final 5, maybe I'll start counting again. But up until then, I'm just going to be naming the movies because I don't want to have to go through and count every time. But especially since I don't really feel like editing this video. So it's just going to be raw footage. But Enigma. I like Enigma quite a good bit. Mostly this movie is pretty great for its atmosphere. Like, this isn't a movie that you watch for the effects. It also has a really interesting story, in my opinion, with, like, this, kind of, it's like a girls' school, and they bully this girl, and she ends up getting hit by a car, and she's like, this is where the interesting aspect takes hold. She's like almost psychically controlling the new girl at the school. I don't know what else to call it other than that. It's a very interesting sort of story. But this is another one that's just super surreal, and it just has this really dreamlike, spooky atmosphere. I like Enigma a good deal. Also, I think it's Enigma. It's gotta be Enigma. It has, like, yeah, it has the greatest line of all time. I literally recorded it. I was watching Enigma a while back, and I recorded this line, and I sent it to my buddy because I thought it was hysterical, like the line delivery and just everything about it. Like, the instructor, like, smacks his chick's butt, and she goes, I may have a fat ass, but if you smack it again, I'll smack your face. And he's like, whew. Like, he makes the dumbest face and the dumbest noise. It's pretty hysterical, actually. Honestly, I think Enigma's worth the watch for that specific line delivery alone. And his reaction, it's amazing. It really is. The Black Cat. This is one that I don't remember very well. This is honestly the only other one that I was kind of debating whether or not it was a giallo. This might be a giallo, sort of. Kind of. If so, it's a very strange one, but mostly The Black Cat is notable to me for its incredible atmosphere. Just, in my opinion, this movie has absolutely amazing atmosphere, just like most of Fulci's movies. I mean, genuinely, you could tack that, not criticism, but that observation, I guess, that praise onto most of Fulci's movies. They are just super atmospheric and super awesome for it. And I need to give The Black Cat another rewatch because I haven't actually rewatched that film. I've only seen it the one time. Cat in the Brain. This is one that not a whole lot of people are huge on. And I can kind of understand why. You know, like, it's a situation where Fulci was using a lot of clips from his older films and, you know, stuff like that. And so, in that sense, like, I get it. I get why you wouldn't be huge on Cat in the Brain. But at the same time, I don't know. Like, it's kind of the point of the movie. To have him seeing a lot of this, you know, a lot of gore and stuff that happens in his other movies. But I wouldn't recommend it to someone who hasn't seen a ton of Fulci. Fun fact about me, this was actually my first Lucio Fulci movie. This is this was my introduction to Lucio Fulci. And so I was like, what's even going on here? Like, the first time I saw this film. And I later learned that, you know, he's splicing clips of his other films in here. And yeah, I was kind of thrown off at first, because it's like, what are these clips of fake films, or are these clips of real films? And then, of course, it got confusing to me when it was like showing these clips, where I was thinking to myself, like, what is from a film and what is supposed to actually be happening in the movie? Now, of course, going back and rewatching this film, I think I can figure that out. And I've rewatched it a lot since, and I think I kind of have down what's actually happening and what's in other Fulci movies. But so it is kind of confusing in that aspect. But I don't know. Overall, I think Cat in the Brain is a really, really good movie. And I don't even... What do you even classify this as? Like a psychological slasher movie? It's... I don't know. It's very strange. It has a very strange sort of storyline to it that verges on not making any sense. But it does in the end, so... It all comes together. Alright, so now we are at... Hold on, guys. Wait a minute. Okay. So now we are at number 7. And my number 7 Lucio Fulci movie of all time, this is something that you guys aren't going to agree with the placement on. I think due to the fact that I hadn't mentioned it up until now, I already knew you guys weren't going to agree with the placement on this, because this is not one of his more well-liked films. But Touch of Death from Lucio Fulci. Of course, these Raro video slipcovers are tighter than none. Sorry, Catholics. Yeah, Touch of Death. I think this movie's awesome. Personally, I love Touch of Death. You don't have to agree. It's weird because it almost feels like this weird mix of like Fulci and American Psycho. Like, if Fulci had directed American Psycho and they had tweaked the storyline a little bit, like, that would be this movie. Minus the psychological aspect. This movie's pretty straightforward, from what I remember. But, yeah. I really enjoy Touch of Death. And now I have to get it back in the Raro slipcover, which is always a chore, because I don't want to bend it. There we go. Wasn't as big of a chore as I remembered. Alright, number 6? Yeah? Number 6? Pretty sure. The Psychic. This is another one of those really, really nice Scorpion releases. And I will tell you what, oh man, my slipcover is like a tad bit ripped. That bothers me. Anyway, I'm off the slipcover. Stop thinking about it. The Psychic is a really good film, and I would actually consider this Lucio Fulci's best film. There is one part in this movie that comes across as less than stellar, and that's when, in the very beginning of the movie, the chick jumps off a cliff to her death, and it's like obviously a mannequin. For whatever reason, the first time I saw this movie, I remembered that scene being super dope, and I remembered her head like caving in and blood spraying everywhere. Yeah, it's not like that at all. Like, it's obviously a mannequin. As I've gone back and rewatched it, I've noticed it, and it just kind of bops on the side of the cliff, and there's like this little ketchup packet of blood that spurts off of the mannequin, and it's like, I don't know how I romanticized that scene so hard in my head, but the rest of the movie is really good. It really is. Stellar stuff here from Fulci. This is like one of his most, I would say this is his most technically good movie. And I know a lot of people are going to argue that that's Don't Torture a Duckling. A lot of other people might argue that it's Lizard in a Woman's Skin. I think it's The Psychic, personally. It feels very kind of like, I want to call it Hitchcockian, but I think that might be praising it a little too much, but it's, I don't know. It's a little like that. Definitely a little like that. Alright, so that was actually number 6. Duh. Okay. So this is number 5, and it is Zombie 3. I told you guys there was going to be a movie that was so bad it's good, even more so than The Sweet House of Horrors, and here it is. In my opinion, this movie is so bad it's good. I know quite a few people who hate this movie. And by quite a few people, I mean the only people I watch movies with and talk to, which is like 2 people. Yeah, so basically don't listen to a word I say, is pretty much what I'm trying to get across there. But, no, I think I've seen some, like, people on YouTube talking about it, too, where they're, like, they're not big on this movie. And like, yeah, it's bad, but I don't get hating it. Like, I don't understand hating Zombie 3 just because it's so ridiculous and so out there that it's like, I can't hate it. Like, this movie is Troll 2, but in my opinion, it's more, like, it's better. It's Troll 2-ier than Troll 2. I mean, this movie has a severed zombie head that flies in it. Like a severed zombie head that attacks someone. That flies. No joke. It flies. And you can see the strings. like as it launches out of this refrigerator. Yeah, it launches. It's a zoom in when it gets out there. And you can see the string holding it up, and it's amazing. It's fantastic. This entire film is completely ridiculous. I watch it all the time because it's just so much fun. Zombie 3, in my opinion, is top tier Fulci stuff. Even though I know that wasn't exclusively directed by Fulci. I'm pretty sure it wasn't just Fulci. I'm pretty sure it was like Claudio Fragasso, which again makes sense because Claudio Fragasso directed Troll 2. So, makes sense. And it's pretty funny because I think it's also written by Bruno Mattei. Right? Oh, no, I'm wrong. Totally wrong. It was written by Claudio Fragasso. Which is interesting because, I don't know, I've always... So there's an aspect to this film where it's totally ripping off Return of the Living Dead. Like, there's this big key plot point in this movie where it's totally ripping off Return of the Living Dead. And of course that's, if you burn the zombies, you know, their essence gets into the air and the atmosphere and it starts turning people into zombies. And, you know, that's a key plot point to this film. Obviously ripping off Return of the Living Dead just, 2 years prior to this? 1 year no, wait. 1 year prior to this? Because I don't know why it's so hard for me to remember Return of the Living Dead's release year. Like, with most of these movies, I can do it. But with Return of the Living Dead, it's very hard for me. It's like 1985... It's either 85, 86, or 87, and I know that's a broad range, but... So just up to 3 years prior, Return of the Living Dead came out, and Dead Zombie 3 just so happens to have the same plot point in there. And I know Bruno Mattei had something to do with this movie. I'm not totally sure what it is. And I've never actually seen a Bruno Mattei film for myself. I haven't. However, something I've heard about Bruno Mattei is he is an expert rip-off artist, and he could just get away with it. And I've heard some ridiculous stuff about some of his films, and so that's aspect that I find pretty funny about Zombie 3. All right, now we are in the big four. The big four Fulci films. Alliteration. You're welcome. All right, and I don't know why I read the card. I knew I knew what it was. The House by the Cemetery is my number 4. I'm not going to hold that up the whole time because it's like you can barely see that artwork. You can't really see that artwork, which is kind of wish that I had separate releases of all of them, but whatever, I guess. It is what it is. But yeah, The House by the Cemetery, it's a great movie. It combines Fulci's best atmosphere, like it has some of the best atmosphere in any Fulci movie and some of the best gore in any Fulci movie. Then it has an awesome ending that makes no sense whatsoever, and it has an amazing score. Who did the score in that one? I was gonna say by someone, like, because I'm pretty sure I knew who did the score, but in case I'm wrong, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. But it does have an amazing score in the movie. Absolutely loved pretty much everything about House by the Cemetery. And I will say, man, the main guy from House by the Cemetery, I'm mad jealous of that dude's hair beard combo because that shit looks magical. I'm not sorry. It looks incredible. I'm super jealous of his hair beard combo. I would kill for hair and beard like that, but like, you know, something small like My Hopes and Dreams, which I guess is kind of a paradox. It's kind of a paradox because, like, part of my hopes and dreams would be to have a hair and a beard like that. But then if I'm killing my hopes and dreams, and I'm effectively squashing my chances of having a hair and beard like that, while still somehow getting a hair and beard like that. So I don't know. It didn't make any sense. It was paradoxical. But anyway, House by the Cemetery. I'm sorry you guys had to sit there and watch me because, like I said, I don't really want to edit this. I might edit that. I might edit a couple of things, but not tonight. I can tell you that much. But yeah, House by the Cemetery. Incredible stuff. Atmospheric, gory. That is Fulci. Speaking of what is Fulci, I mean, these last 4 movies encapsulate Fulci better than any other 4 movies. The Beyond is my number 3 pick. I absolutely adore The Beyond. I mean, weirdly enough, like, from the big Fulci movies, like the big ones that, like, if you're anything resembling, you know, a fairly big horror fan, you probably have heard of these. This was like the last of the huge Fulci films that I had seen, and that's, I don't know, that's pretty crazy. Like, The Beyond is just, it's one of those movies that's like, I don't know why I'm so tripped up by that, but it's probably because it's top three type stuff right here, and I put it off for so long. I don't know, but it absolutely is incredible. This edition is awesome from Grindhouse Releasing. It comes with the soundtrack of The Beyond, and then of course this awesome, I think it's like 3 disc. There's like 3 discs in this little Blu-ray case right here. Oh, 2 discs. But it is just full of special features. And then it's got this nice little booklet. Of course, you guys can't see it because I'm not showing it to you guys because I'm a douche trying to keep all the tasty booklets to myself. I don't even know what that meant, honestly. But yeah, The Beyond, incredible gore, pretty great atmosphere as well. The ending didn't make a whole ton of sense. kind of doesn't, but I like the ending anyway. I really enjoy the ending, and it kind of does make sense, I guess. Sort of. Like maybe you could look at it as like, if you stay in this hotel for long enough, the gates to hell open and they start kind of messing with reality, and eventually you cross over into hell because the gates have been opened, and I don't know. I'm really trying to reach, because the ending in this movie is a wee bit nonsensical, but the Beyond is awesome. And here's probably my most rewatched Lucio Fulci movie, and that is Zombie. I love Zombie. I reviewed this movie as well. Honestly, I would not recommend my own review of Zombie, though. There's a ton of better reviews of Zombie on YouTube, I'm sure. I don't recommend my own. I was filming in a really dark parking lot. Like, I'm sure you guys noticed that my camera quality isn't the best. It's not exactly up there. So, just imagine this, but in a dark parking lot with barely no street lights. What was I sitting on? I think I was sitting on like a rock, or maybe I was standing out there. I don't remember. It was pretty ridiculous, though, to say the least. But, yeah. Of course, I whacked Zombie off the whole time, and I mean, you could probably see why if you've ever seen Zombie. I know, like, my buddy isn't the biggest fan of Zombie, one of my buddies, but, you know, to each their own. This isn't his style of horror film anyway. Myself, I love the slow-moving, rotting, shambling corpses of zombies, and this movie just does it for me. Fantastic splatter from Fulci. And of course, you're thinking, where's this movie? Well, I'm glad you asked. You totally didn't, because we're at number one, alright? You're not going to be asking that question while we're at number one. You obviously know that it's number one. And it's City of the Living Dead. Again, not going to hold it up for a super long time, because it's, tiny little image. But City of the Living Dead is simply my favorite Lucio Fulci movie. Which, when I first saw City of the Living Dead, I wasn't huge on it, because I wanted a zombie movie. I walked into that film very much so wanting a zombie film. I basically wanted the movie Zombie from City of the Living Dead, and I didn't get that. And I think I was a little off-put by that at first. And as I rewatched it, and I rewatched it, and I rewatched it, I was like, I think I really dig this movie for what it is. And sure enough, now watching that movie, it's my favorite. It has, in my opinion, it has some of the best atmosphere. Like, it's this really kind of spooky, surreal, fog-soaked atmosphere, and just this amazing gore effects, and of course an amazing score, just like most of Fulci's movies. It's kind of a constant through his movies, is just having amazing scores, and kind of Italian movies in general. But City of the Living Dead is the purest form, in my opinion, of what makes a Fulci movie amazing. And, there's something to be said about the fact that I wasn't huge on that movie, but I kept watching it over and over and over again. And at the time, I think it was because, like, this movie's kind of, fondled a little too much. Like, let me keep watching it and see if there's any truth to the hype or whatever. But even now, like, the Fulci movies that are kind of lesser lesser caliber, I get the urge to rewatch those movies. So I do think there's something to be said for that. As far as Fulci as a director goes, there is something about his movies that make me want to constantly revisit them. I watch a lot of Fulci movies, and I rewatch a lot of Fulci movies. So I do think there's something to be said for that, and it's probably one of the reasons that he's my favorite director. So there you have it, guys. That is all 21 of Lucio Fulci's horror movies ranked. And this video was ridiculously long. Might as well have been a movie, right? But this video was ridiculously long. Thank you guys if you stuck around till the end. By the way, I take requests. If there's anything that you want to see get reviewed, or maybe a top 10 list that you'd like me to do, or a certain aspect of horror you would like me to cover, ask about it in the comments section. Now, when I say this, I don't mean like horror news. That's not really my thing. I'm trying to be more focused on, I don't want to say pre-existing movies, because I'll still go out and see. I'm just not trying to report horror news, alright? I'm not trying to be a journalist on this channel. I don't want to bring you guys horror news. That's not what I wanted when I started YouTube. I want to entertain people by, hopefully entertain people. So far, that hasn't been going too well for me, because, your boy has terrible production quality, and I'm not the most skilled at editing. And if we're all being honest to ourselves, a pretty suck-ass personality. Probably. That all depends on it. I think I'm going too long with this outro. I think so. Once I just get to the point where I'm insulting myself for the sake of insulting myself, I think I've officially made the outro too long. So, appreciate the view, guys. I'll catch you guys on the next one.